Is Japan truly as perfect as people say? Everyone speaks of the Japanese as the friendliest, most considerate, and caring people. But why then are some of them deeply unhappy? This is a country where every corner seems drenched in perfection at first glance. But what might actually be hidden beneath Japan's beautiful facade? This is the side that's not usually discussed openly. Hi friends! I'm happy to welcome you to the Holly Lolly channel. Today I've decided to touch on a delicate topic that is very important to me and to those who are seriously considering Japan as a permanent place of residence. You know, I admire Japan. I love it dearly. Sometimes, I even idolize it, as you can probably tell from my videos. But when I start feeling some inner dissonance or imbalance, I want to share it with you, too, to let each of my dear viewers make their own conclusions about whether this country is right for you. Because I've come to realize that there is probably no better country on earth for travel, especially for tourists, than Japan. When you travel through Japan, you develop an endless love for this country, and every day you fall more and more in love with it, discovering new things and just enjoying its splendor. But I want to tell you about the difficulties that a person who lives here daily, without knowing the language but with a deep love for the country, encounters. When unpleasant nuances arise, I also want to talk about them and hear your opinion. Despite all the advantages of living in Japan, I've come to a slightly sad conclusion that Japan is a place with a stunningly beautiful exterior that lures you in. You want to live here and enjoy life, but in reality, this country is about loneliness. After 3 years of living here, I still haven't been able to make friends, and that makes me incredibly sad. I try to meet people, to communicate, but somehow, it doesn't work out. But that's just one factor. For example, yesterday, I lay awake for a long time, unable to sleep, thinking about how either you feel comfortable in this society but like an outsider to those around you, or you try to blend in as much as possible and be as convenient as possible for society, but deep inside, you feel unhappy. Maybe this doesn't apply to everyone living here. Perhaps, again, this is just how I feel and the conclusions I've drawn because we are all different and we all view situations differently. I'm sharing how I personally experience things, and I'd like to immediately provide some life examples why I've come to this conclusion. Let me start by saying I have 2 children. My younger daughter goes to kindergarten, and my older son goes to school. Let's begin with the kindergarten. What do I mean when I say you have to be as convenient as possible for society? Take me, for instance. I'm someone who, when told that there are rules to follow here, I follow them. If I'm told not to use the phone on the subway, I won't. If I'm told not to do something else, I won't do that either. But when it comes to my personal boundaries, when I have to cross them to be as convenient as possible for others, I feel deeply unsettled. For example, I pay for my child's kindergarten. What's the purpose of kindergarten? First and foremost, of course, it's the child's development. This goes without saying, but also, it's to give parents a bit of time, perhaps to focus on work. I drop my child off at kindergarten, knowing that the people who work there will take care of him while I get a chance to work or take care of other things. Then, I pick him up, spend time with him, and invest my soul in his development. What happens at our kindergarten? Among the advantages, the staff truly pours their hearts into their work. It's incredibly sad to note that many of the people who work in these kindergartens are single and don't have families of their own. I see so many lonely people here. Yes, they love your child, they care for them, they come up with interesting activities, and they spend quality time with the kids. But I often ask myself, how happy are these people? Because they live for their work. Now, I love my work and what I do. I admire people who have found their calling and not only work but also derive joy from it. That's truly a gift. But I believe that no matter what, you should have some personal life, a family, your own space. And yet, the kindergarten often encroaches on my personal space. Let me explain what I mean. I work 6 days a week. Sundays are, for me, a sacred, untouchable day, firstly because I can sleep in, as I wake up very early and work very late every day. Secondly, on Sundays, I can spend time with my family, be with my husband and kids, go somewhere, and have fun, but only after I've had a proper rest. Those who work a lot understand how important it is to feel good after a proper sleep. And Sunday is the only day of the week when I can allow myself this. But our kindergarten organizes events twice a month on Sunday mornings and makes attendance mandatory. This is because it's convenient for the group and because everyone must follow the same rules. The Japanese always live collectively. They are hard workers, working together like ants. So, in their society, you see this anthill where everyone has a task, and everyone is busy. You can't have one ant going against the rules, doing something on their own. That's not how Japan works. So on Sundays, you can't skip kindergarten, you're required to attend. What do they do on Sundays? Well, for example, one Sunday they organized a drawing contest. This means you have to draw something with your child at home, and then at 8 a.m. on Sunday, you bring your drawings to the kindergarten. They hang the drawings up for an hour, and then other children and parents come, walk around, look at the drawings, and discuss them. In general, it's great and impressive. I have huge respect and admiration for them for organizing such events. But here's my question: why should I, for instance, sacrifice my sleep, my children's sleep, and our family day, which I want to spend with my kids and husband? I don't want to wake up at 7 a.m. or even earlier to make breakfast and rush to kindergarten. I believe that the child already attends kindergarten 5 days a week, but Sunday is our sacred day. In the end, in our kindergarten, we've become something like the black sheep, because the first time we declined to attend the Sunday event, the director didn't understand at all. How can you refuse to come to kindergarten on Sunday? It's mandatory, you don't understand. Of course, this was all said to us very politely. I might be sounding emotional right now, but they gently reminded us, with lots of thanks and apologies, that attending on Sundays is compulsory. After all, they said, we don't organize events every Sunday. I didn't even tell them that we just want to sleep. I said we have other commitments and that I want to develop my child in different ways. So, sorry, but we bring him to kindergarten 5 days a week, and on this day, we prefer to focus on something else. In the end, they didn't understand us. And I can see that the Japanese have started to ignore us because we're standing out from the group and not following along with everyone else. Yesterday, I had a similar situation. At 6:50 a.m., the director sent me an email, since it's common practice here to send emails, saying, I hope you know we have a field trip today. But we didn't know. I assumed the teacher was supposed to inform us when we picked up Anya from kindergarten, but that didn't happen. There are often announcements in Japanese, and the information may have been there, but I don't translate them. I used to sometimes, but the information wasn't always relevant to us, so when you rush in every day after work to pick up your child, you don't always feel like standing there and translating every announcement. So, maybe I should have seen that information somewhere, I don't know, but I didn't. And so, at 6:50 a.m., the director writes that we have a field trip today. I hope you're ready. The trip is 50 minutes away from our home, and we were already dressed for kindergarten. I had just prepared and packed my child's bento in the special lunchbox for school. We were about to leave the house when suddenly our translator friend calls and says, Aya, have you even checked your email? She says, the director wrote to you about today's event, that all the moms and children decided to go for a walk in the park today. I said, I don't know, I didn't check, and I apologized. So I thought, if it takes me 20 minutes to get to kindergarten, and we left with 25 minutes to spare, already dressed in kindergarten uniform, even if I started getting my child ready for the park right away, we wouldn't make it in time because it takes some time. So I wrote to the director, even though I knew I shouldn't inconvenience him with my tardiness, but I understood that I would be quite late by the time I figured out where to go. Again, I'd have to change my child's clothes and repack because a park trip requires a completely different set of things to bring. So, I simply wrote him an email with my deepest apologies and said I was sorry I didn't see the message in time, and I told him, sorry for the situation, see you on Monday. Then he started calling me. But I don't speak Japanese, so I couldn't understand him. He tried to explain something, and I kept saying, sumimasen, sumimasen, and I apologized for a long time. Eventually, he gave the phone to a woman. There's now a Russian-speaking mom of one of the kids in our group, and she explained that the director and the whole group were willing to wait for us at the metro station, just so we could join them and visit the event together. But I said, please convey my deepest apologies, but I just can't, I won't make it, really. And to be honest, I had planned to work during that time. I have a work project. I had calculated the time, assuming my child would be at daycare until noon. During that time, I had to finish the project. Because I'm the type of person who likes to plan for the next day. I don't plan months ahead, but I know exactly what I'll be doing tomorrow and at what time. And now they were offering me to just go to the park for half a day. Of course, I'd love to spend a day in the park with my daughter, and I'll definitely do that another time, but today I wasn't prepared for it. In short, no one understood me at all. They told me, you're going against the system, that's not how things are done. And you know, honestly, it's a double-edged situation because, on the one hand, I understand that I pay for this kindergarten, and I'm not doing anything wrong. For example, we're supposed to collect little bells. I go out, find products with these bells, and buy them so that my child can meet the requirement. They also collect cardboard. They collect a lot of things. I get it, I accept it, and I do it. But when it's, for example, on a weekend or when there's a spontaneous field trip that I wasn't informed about in the morning and didn't plan for, I don't understand why I'm expected to drop all my plans and just go. I understand that now I'm not exactly an outcast, but the Japanese aren't fond of my behavior, and it turns out that over time, in a Japanese group, you become an outcast. I don't work for a Japanese company, but my acquaintances have told me that if you don't attend evening gatherings with the team, where the boss invites everyone, it negatively affects your career. They gather to drink with the boss for as long as necessary, despite having family waiting at home, but if the boss invites you, you have to go. Otherwise, you're going against the system, against the rules. I've been thinking deeply about the sacrifices Japanese people make just to avoid appearing wrong in the eyes of others. For them, it's very important how they present themselves in society. That external image, you have to be impeccable, perfect, so that no one thinks badly of you. I ask myself, do I really need this? Because I grew up as a very proper girl, and only later, when I started studying psychology, I realized how important it is to consider your own opinion and work on yourself so that others respect you and see you as someone worth consulting. I've worked on building a character that can resist things I don't want to do but am being forced into. And now, I've come to a country that's telling me the opposite. Don't resist. You must be obedient. You must follow everything. Do what everyone else does. I wanted to share these thoughts with you. I'm curious what you think. I believe Japan is a place where either you fully accept all these rules and customs and feel comfortable with them, so you don't have to compromise with yourself or figure out what's good or bad for you. You just accept it and say, yes, I enjoy living like this. But if this kind of life creates internal contradictions, I would advise you to think hard about whether this is what you really need. So, once again, I'll say that Japan is wonderful for traveling. Let me tell you another story from today. As you can see, I'm just sharing examples from my life so you can mentally immerse yourself and imagine yourself in my situations, and understand how comfortable you would be in such circumstances. Because, again, I talk a lot with people here who have lived here for a long time, who have moved from our countries, and they say that some absolutely love it, saying yes, Japan is my place, Japan is the country that suits me 100%. But others say, well, I left everything at home, I moved here, gave up everything there, and now I live here, and it's too late for me to change anything. It's very sad when people have completely uprooted themselves and, facing difficulties here, they just say they're tired, that they don't want to change anything, and many just endure. They've resigned themselves to the aspects they don't like. Yes, I understand, it may seem like a small thing to you, but these little things add up to create the bigger picture. For example, today is Saturday, and my son had a sports competition at school. And you know, I watched it, it was very cute, very cool, the kids running, competing, it was interesting to follow the score which kept changing. They have a two-sided cap, red on one side, white on the other, they divide into teams and compete. That team spirit, it's very cool, awesome. But let's consider the same situation from a slightly different angle. I was given a reminder, a paper with instructions on what and how to do and bring. Basically, you have to meet all the criteria exactly. So what was required? It said that at 7:50 a.m. we needed to be at the school on Saturday, because that's when the general gathering starts and the kids prepare for the competition. Naturally, parents come with their children on this day, but they start letting parents in at 8:15. I arrived at 7:50, and by that time, there was already a whole line of parents waiting to register. You had to register. Depending on the class, they gave you a sticker. I got a green sticker, which means my son is in 3rd grade. If the child is a 1st grader, they give the parents red ribbons. So you registered, and there were warnings. It was written that the tents are exclusively for the children. These are special tents where you can hide from the sun, and the heat is just incredible here. The sun is shining. What's the temperature now? For example, well, right now it's 28 degrees outside, but it's still hot. Believe me, if you stand under the sun for a long time, you'll feel it. And the requirement was, parents, please do not enter the tents. It was also written not to wear high heels. Why is that? Because the whole time, from 7:50 a.m. until 12:50 p.m., you have to stand on your feet. For example, I have back problems. I can walk for a long time, but I can't stand for a long time. I start feeling really bad. They said that all parents must attend this event. Come and stand for 5 hours in the heat, as if that's completely normal. It said that if you leave, you have to re-register according to the rules when you return. It also said that you can't sit anywhere because the seats are exclusively for the children. You have to stand for 5 hours. They warn you about this and ask you to take care not to get heat stroke, bring hats, umbrellas, water, of course. In our countries, there are also school events, parent meetings, and other events where parents are invited, but usually, they take care of the conditions for the parents. I think the Japanese are so concerned about everything that surrounds you. When you arrive as a tourist, you immediately notice how many things here make life comfortable. But, for example, not caring about the fact that parents will be standing for 5 hours under the scorching sun is considered normal. Today, I even started a trend among the parents. I stood for 2 hours and realized I was just going to collapse. I felt so bad. So I sat down on the grass to rest. At first, the Japanese looked at me like I was crazy, like, why are you sitting down? But then some of them started doing the same and sitting down too. I notice things like this sometimes, like when we approach a place with friends, there are 5 of us, and we line up around the menu stand to look at the menu, and the Japanese think it's a queue and start lining up behind us. They don't know why they're standing there, but they follow the queue. It was the same here. I showed that you could sit on the grass and nobody said anything to me, and then gradually, parents started sitting down beside me. So we get a nice view of the kids having fun and competing, and you're cheering for your child. I saw how my Sasha trained, preparing this drum dance. My son really enjoyed participating in it. At first, I thought we wouldn't be able to miss our online school because attendance is mandatory, and I thought we'd have to miss the event. But Sasha asked, saying, "Mom, I prepared this dance so much, I really want to show it to you." I first told the teacher, "Excuse me, but we won't be able to attend." And she was displeased. "How can you not attend? You must attend, this is a school event, you must absolutely come, and you can't miss it." And everything was very strict again. But here, I don't argue, it's the school. I might complain about the kindergarten, since I believe kindergarten is not a mandatory institution. School is more serious, but still, some things are frustrating, even if they're small things, but you deal with them every day, and they force you to compromise with yourself. You have to smile at everyone, bow, and pretend everything is fine. And, for example, you have to stand for 5 hours in the heat to watch your son perform, even though it's scorching hot outside. And they have a huge gym. Why, for example, when it rains in winter, do they hold all their competitions and events in the gym? You still have to stand, but at least you're indoors. Why is rain an obstacle, but the sun and heat are not? You know, as I'm recording this, I realize that I'm probably a bit wound up because all these little inconveniences are just piling up. Every day, you collect these small factors. Someone makes a comment that you didn't take out the trash correctly. I mean, I always sort it. I spend a lot of time sorting it. I understand why it's done, but sometimes you simply need to travel to another city, and you realize that you'll be gone for 2 to 3 weeks, and this trash will stink up the house. Sorry for the expression. So I take it out, because there's a storage room where you're supposed to place your trash before 8 a.m., and then the garbage truck picks it up at 8 a.m. But if I try to take it out the night before, even though I've seen some Japanese people do it, no one says anything to them. But when we did it because we were leaving for another city, even though the trash was sorted, packed in 300 bags, how could we leave it for 3 weeks with all those smells? So, we took it out, and then we got an email, plus they slipped a note under our door, saying that they were arranging a meeting only because of our behavior to remind us how to properly sort trash and what times to take it out. So, they emphasized when to take it out, the specific hours for that. I feel like every person living here is doing a colossal amount of work. They wash these little cans, peel off labels, sort caps, crush bottles, and so on. You sort through a ton of bags. I know that in other countries with trash sorting, there are special workers who do this. But here, the residents do all this work themselves. So why can't I just throw out that trash when it's making my apartment unlivable with all those unpleasant smells? Yes, the Japanese have come up with great odor neutralizers, but they're just for containers with lids. And we have large amounts of trash. Anyway, I've gone off track, because all these daily little things, where you can't do this, can't do that, have to do it this way, and not another, put you in a sort of stupor. And you start thinking, was I living wrong before, or why am I doing everything wrong now? I try to fit into this society, but somehow, I still end up being inconvenient. My dear viewers, I'm very curious about your opinion. What do you think about the situation I've described? How well do you think you could adapt and do what society expects of you every single time? Is it a good thing, or do you think otherwise? Please let me know in the comments. I hope this video was informative for you, so please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. A big arigato to everyone for watching, and I'll see you in the next videos. Goodbye!